This video is going to introduce Adobe InDesign to you, how to place an image you've created or a photo you've taken into Adobe InDesign, and then how to move it around, change the size, and some things like that. The first thing you want to do is you want to go to Launchpad and you want to find Adobe InDesign, and that is the black and hot pink ID. You're going to open that up, give it a second to open up. Once you have it opened up, it should look something like this. And you're going to go up here. It should say InDesign, File, Edit, Layout, and so forth. You're going to go to File, New Document. And then you have some options here. Most of the time, if you're printing something that's a traditional size, if you're creating something that you're going to print out, the traditional 8.5 by 11 paper is letter size. For what we're doing today, I'm actually going to have students create a mini poster which is tabloid sized. So that's a little bit larger sheet of paper, and you'll look here, here's legal size and tabloid size. So we're going to say tabloid. We're going to make sure our orientation, I want it to be vertical, and I just need one page, and I'm going to say create. So here I have the page that will be my poster that I'm working on. You'll notice there's some margins here. You can put stuff outside of that margin. What that margin is telling you is it may not show up when you print it. It may or may not. So you definitely never want to put text or words in there. But if you have an image that you want to sort of bleed off the edge there, you can always do that. Just like in Adobe Photoshop, you might notice that some of these tools have a little dot arrow triangle thing in the corner, and that means you can click down and hold down, and you have some options on some of these tools. You'll notice the square one, you can make different shapes, things like that. The main tool that I'm going to show you today is the black arrow, the selection tool, and the white arrow, the direct selection tool. And the first thing we're going to need to do is most of the time we're going to use this black arrow. We're going to take this black arrow and we're going to go to File and Place. And it should pop up here and give us options, again, to find the image that we want to use. For this project, I'm using an image that we created in the last video on Photoshop. I had that image on the desktop, but I had created a cutout version and saved it on the server. So I'm going to go here to Mimosa, Holmes Journalism, and I'm going to go to my class period folder, my name, and there's my cutout image. I'm going to click it. I'm going to say open. When you do that, you'll notice now that that image has become a part of my cursor. All I'm going to do with this is if I click it once, it's going to make it whatever size it wants to make it. I'm going to press Command Z to undo that. I'm going to actually draw the size I want it. So I want this image to be pretty dominant. It's going to be the only image on the page with some text. So I'm going to click, hold, and you'll notice I can just draw out the size that I want it. So I made it pretty large. Because it's cut off down here, I want to anchor it down at the bottom of the page. And now I have placed that image. If ever you want to see that image without the blue frame on it, you can always go to View, Screen Mode, Preview, but just make sure that when you're working again, you go back to normal. I want to show you a few things that happen when you place an image. You'll notice as long as I have this black arrow and I click on this photo, I can click, drag, and move it around. You'll notice too that I can change the size of the frame. I can make it bigger or I can make it smaller. If I make it smaller, obviously I start cutting out part of the image, so I don't want to do that. This does not resize the photo itself, it just resizes the frame. You might also notice that there's this circle thing in the middle, and this can be very tricky. You'll notice that this hand pops up in the circle. When you hit that, you'll notice a brown frame opens up. This is the same thing that happens if you use the direct selection tool. You can click off to get that off, because what happens is if you grab it like this, you're moving the image inside the frame. And if you move it out of where the frame is, you won't be able to see it. In this case, it's all the way over there, so I'm going to drag it and put it back where it was. So you want to be cautious of that, because you can really get messed up doing that. Just click somewhere, not in the middle, and you can drag and move it around. Let's say that you don't like the size that you selected. You're realizing you want the words to be a little more dominant when you put the words in. So you want to size this down and make it smaller. There's a couple ways to do that. I'm going to show you the best way to do it. You first click the black arrow selection tool. Make sure you haven't selected anything else. Then come over here, click on the photo so that it's selected, and you're going to go down here. And right now, this is the free transform tool. If I click and hold down, you might see something like the rotate tool, the scale tool, or the shear tool. We're looking for the scale tool. So you're going to select the scale tool, and you'll notice when you click the mouse with the scale tool, this little target shows up. You're going to go put that target on the corner of the photo that you want to essentially hold down. So I'm going to click it on that corner. I'm going to come to the opposite corner. And before I click and start moving this, I'm going to hold down the Shift key. This is very important. This keeps the photo in proportion. See how it popped out of proportion there? It'll do that if you're really insistent with the mouse. But generally holding down Shift while you do this will keep it the right size and shape. What we don't want to happen is when I don't hold Shift, this or this. We don't ever want that. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to Command Z undo that. I'm going to hold down the Shift key. I'm going to click on the opposite corner. I'm just going to bring that image down in size a little bit. And that's how you resize an image. Once you get your image placed how you want it, we're going to save this. So you're going to go up here to File, Save As, if you haven't saved it before. Again, we can drop this down so we can see where we're saving it. We're going to save it right back in that folder. So we're going to go to Mimosa, Holmes Journalism, your class period, your name that you created. And if you don't have a folder there, you can go New Folder and create it. And we're going to save it inside this folder. So I'm going to change the name to my name and the word poster. And I'm going to say save. Now that that's saved, you can close out of it if you need to, or you can move on to the next video to see how to add and manipulate text.